Hey there, everyone. Welcome back. I don't know if you remember the case of Carson Crimeni, who was a 14-year-old in Langley, BC, who was given MDMA, and while he was overdosing, the kids that gave it to him ended up just sitting there laughing, mocking him, and filmed him. And there's actually an update in this case. All right, so here's the news story. We're gonna watch it. Let's take
A
a look at
former
it.
drug dealer who gave a Langley teen a lethal dose of ecstasy learned his fate today.
Drug dealer
In
sentence.
2019, 14-year-old Carson Crimeni was mocked on video that was posted online as he overdosed.
Isn't that absolutely disgusting that instead of like helping him, everyone just filmed and laughed? And to me, that's just absolutely disgusting. Like, as just a human being, your friend or just somebody in general, you see them in distress, and the first thing kids do nowadays is film it for social media rather than getting help. Like I said, I had a friend that went through that overdose, and the first thing we did was call an ambulance. We didn't even think about filming it. We just wanted to get him help.
And while the man responsible for the death is going to prison, the Crimeni family says it's not enough time. CTV's Craig
So he's
Clark says
actually going to
more.
jail. Oh, that's
In
good.
a packed courtroom, Carson Crimeni's family sat patient as the judge described the night Carson lost his life. A tragic story that has ended with the offender being
It's
sentenced to
horrible.
18 months in prison
18
and an
months?
additional year and a half under supervision.
Ooh, supervision. That doesn't mean absolutely anything. That's like a slap on the wrist. This guy gave drugs, a lethal dose to Carson. He died. He lost his life. And they're literally giving this guy 18 months? That's only like a year and a half. That's absolutely nothing. So you're telling me that you can give somebody drugs and they die and all you get is a year and a half? That
A decision that Carson's father says just isn't enough.
no, that isn't enough.
Disappointed. We were hoping for at least 2 years of incarceration. Kind of feel like the court took the middle ground on this one.
Yeah.
Crown and
It should be 2 years minimal at least, and even then, like, you just took somebody's life. I'd understand if they tried to get him help, but like the guy was supposedly a former drug dealer. He knows the dosages, gives Carson a lethal dose to the point that he's gonna OD and die, and instead of getting him help, they film the video, like film him, mock him, post it online, and they leave the situation rather than getting help. That is absolutely disgusting and a shame for the Canadian justice court system. You figure if somebody gives somebody like a lethal dose, then they're gonna overdose and die. It would be more than 2 years, and this guy got a year and a half. That's just absolutely crazy to me.
defense did agree on a 3-year sentence prior, but disagreed on the length behind bars. The Crown wanted 2 years, and the defense wanted no more than 18 months.
Oh,
something
my
the
Lord.
judge ultimately went with.
Of
Overall,
course.
in the totality of the circumstances, I'm satisfied with it.
The
You're
highest
satisfied?
sentence that we were hoping for would have set a better precedence for future cases.
Yeah,
In
no
their
doubt.
case, it involved 2 teenagers, Carson, 14 years old at the time, and another, the offender, that we cannot identify due to a publication ban, but was a known drug dealer and sold what the judge called a lethal supply of MDMA to Carson.
Right there, that is absolutely ridiculous. The guy is a known drug dealer and supplies a lethal dose to Carson, who has no idea what he's doing, the amount, anything, trusting this guy, ends up taking it, dying and overdosing at a public skate park in Langley, while everybody else that's supposed to be his friends in there are filming and laughing, and he ends up losing his life and impacts his whole family for the rest of theirs. This is just a horrible tragedy that should have been prevented, and the fact that it wasn't preventable, for one, because the rec center should have cameras, people should be coming in and out, like out to check the grounds and like the kids and stuff. The fact that this guy has only gotten a minimal sentence, that's crazy. So you're telling me you kill somebody with a knife or a gun and you're gonna get 5, 10, 20 years, maybe life in jail, and you give them drugs knowing that it's a lethal dose and it's going to kill them, and you don't help them, you don't do anything to try to prevent it or even get them help when it's happening, and you only get a year and a half. That's just absolutely insane to me.
On the day of his death, overdosing on the drug while those around him filmed and mocked on social media during some of his last moments.
They were there laughing.
Yeah, that
They
should
thought it was a joke.
give you even more of a...
A painful video that lives on the internet as the family now tries to move forward without who they call the center of their universe.
What he took away from us can't be measured. It's the most devastating thing any human being could ever go through.
And Carson's father told reporters that if there's one thing you can take away from this, it's that to call 911 if you see someone in distress.
100%. You see somebody in distress, you call 911. You don't just sit there, film it, and laugh. It just blows my mind. And these guys were supposed to be his friends. This dude was like a known former drug dealer, supposedly. Gave him a lethal dose, and he only gets a year and a half. That's just a slap on the wrist, and it doesn't send a bad message to, like, it doesn't send a good message out there. It just basically states that you give a lethal dose to somebody, kill them, and all you're gonna get is a year and a half, like maybe 2 years. That's absolutely nothing. That's absolutely a joke. I just wanted to point out that Carson's wearing a Thrasher hoodie right there, proving that, he was obviously in love with the skate industry and the skateboarding, so that's why he was at the skate park. But the fact that some older guys gave him a lethal a dosage is just totally heartbreaking. Older guys are supposed to be looking out for the younger generations, encouraging them, teaching them how to skate and trying to keep them away from drugs and alcohol so they can actually have a good life and a career in skateboarding if they get to that point, or just in general in life. And these guys took advantage of them, looking up to them as older guys and wants to be cool, and they end up taking advantage and giving them a lethal dose, and they knowingly did it. And it's truly heartbreaking and sad to hear that, and that this happened. And like I said, my condolences and my prayers go out to Aaron and the rest of his family, because this is just totally just bullshit. Like, a year and a half, that's absolutely nothing. And I just want to say that I hope karma and justice will actually catch up to this guy later, either in jail or elsewhere, because this is just totally not cool. And they could have called 911, they could have got him help, he could still be here today. And the fact that the judge gave him a less sentence than they were asking for is just, yeah, not a good call in my mind. Alright, so I was doing a little research and reading up in Canadian laws, and there's actually a case where a guy gave some fentanyl to somebody and he died, and it states that the offense of criminal negligence causing death is 5 years. But it states that in this case, the defendant's jail sentence was reduced to 3.5 years. So even then, criminal negligence causing death is 5 years. So in stating that, you could intentionally give somebody drugs and kill them, and the most you're ever going to get is 5 years. That's ridiculous here in Canada. I bet you in the States you'd be getting life. See, in this article I was reading, it states that a drug dealer can get a 20-year sentence in prison or more, depending on each state. And that's just when you sell it to them and you don't know what they're going to do. But in Carson's case, they intentionally gave him a lethal dose. That, to me, isn't that's right there. That's murder. Even if their intentions weren't to kill him, but just to get him high and make a video and laugh it off, they still intentionally gave him a lethal dose. And saying that is basically killing it. They killed him. They intentionally killed him. They could have gave him a little bit and he'd still be alive. But no, they gave him a lethal dose, knowing that it was a lethal dose. And to get a year and a half is absolutely a joke. So yeah, at least there was some sort of justice, but still isn't justice. A family loses their kid. This kid, Carson, ends up losing his life and his livelihood to enjoy so much, and this guy who's still alive only gets a year and a half, will probably be out in a year for good behavior or even less, depending. I don't know how the court systems work out here with that, but I know it's a joke. But yeah, no, it's just absolutely horrible and makes me sick to my stomach to know that people can get away with this. And you figured in this case that there'd at least be a little bit more, considering that, like they said, this guy was a drug dealer and he intentionally gave him a lethal dose. And the judge, whoever the judge is, not to like bash you or anything, but you made a very poor decision and call on that. You know, you might be looking at like, oh, this guy's a 20-year-old, 1-year-old guy. He has the rest of his life. But then you got to take in consideration he just took a life, and it should be a life for a life. Intentionally, non intentionally, like he might as well have just took out a gun and shot Carson for intentionally giving him a lethal dose, in my mind. You know, it wasn't just a tiny couple, like a little bit, just having a good time. No, they, like I said, and it sounds like I'm repeating myself, they intentionally gave him a lethal dose. And that at that point, you just figure as a judge, you just be like, no, you're done. You're done, bud. But nope, he ends up being lenient on this guy. Give me a year and a half, and hopefully he learns his lesson. But it's just absolutely disgusting. So yeah, this wasn't what we all wanted to hear. This isn't the outcome that I think anyone wanted. But at least there was some sort of justice in this case, because there's a lot of cases where nothing even happens, it just gets dropped. So at least there was something, some sort of closure. But still, like I said, the family has to live with this for the rest of their lives, where in a year and a half this guy's going to be out and he's going to be living his life freely, doing whatever he wants and whatever he pleases. Either he, you know, cleans up his act or just goes back to what he's doing. Like, it's a slap on the wrist when you think about it. A year and a half. I really want to know if Carson was actually a skateboarder and skateboarded. He was at the park. He wears Thrasher. Can somebody let me know? Was he actually a skateboarder? Because if he was an avid skateboarder, then there should be like a memorial skateboard event every year for him. I know there's probably like a little bit of a memorial with the friends and family, but if he was an avid skater and, you know, skateboarding, then we should definitely, you know, raise awareness around this and put on an event every year to remember his name, keep his, you know, image and name alive, and to basically educate the younger generations and everyone else that, yeah, no matter who you're with or whatever, you gotta be careful and don't trust people that you think are your friends or you think that are cool, and they're, you know, that you're not gonna go through this. So I don't know. Somebody reach out and let me know. I'd really appreciate it. So yeah, I just thought I'd do an update story on this. Yeah, it just blows my mind. Like I said, you figure friends or people that are there would care and call 911 to get him help, and it could have been, you know, he could still be here. You know, it just goes to show you, like, they just didn't care, and it's really sad. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions about this in the comments below. I'm really interested to see how you all feel about this. Please like this video to help the algorithm so more people get to see it. Share it with your friends and family so they can see what happened in this case. And yeah, I'd also really appreciate it if you could just click that subscribe button down below. Helps me out a lot. I do appreciate it. And like I said, once again, my heart, my prayers, and my condolences go out to the family. This is just truly heartbreaking, and nobody should have to go through something like this.